Gemini, the invisible hand blocking your fortune and how to cut it off. Gemini, you are not poor because you lack talent. You are not struggling because you are incapable. You are blocked because there is an invisible hand holding your fortune, just inches away from you. And the most dangerous part is this: you can't see it yet. It has been shaping your choices, your timing, and your outcomes for longer than you realize. You've felt it before. Opportunities that arrive perfectly, almost magically, and then dissolve at the last second. Money that comes in fast, exciting, promising relief only to vanish just as quickly, leaving you wondering where it went. People telling you you're so smart, you have so much potential, while your reality refuses to match the praise. Gemini, this is not coincidence. This is not bad luck. And it is definitely not because you didn't try hard enough. Ask yourself this question carefully because it is not a safe one. If the problem isn't effort, then where is it hiding? Because you have worked, you have adapted, you have learned, pivoted, adjusted, evolved. You did everything the world told you to do. Yet something keeps intercepting the reward before it lands in your hands. That something is not a person. It is not an enemy you can point to or confront. It is a force, quiet, subtle, intelligent, and it operates beneath your conscious awareness. An invisible mechanism that nudges you 1 second too late, distracts you at the wrong moment, or convinces you to hesitate just long enough for the door to close. Gemini astrology has warned about this exact pattern. When Pluto activates your energetic field and the nodes of fate press on your timeline, control doesn't arrive as pressure. It arrives as thoughts. You don't feel attacked. You feel logical. You feel reasonable. You feel like you're making smart choices. But beneath that surface, unconscious control begins to steer your financial flow. You second-guess. You delay. You choose safety over alignment. And every time you do, the invisible hand tightens its grip just a little more. Here is the part most Gemini never hear. Your mind is powerful enough to create wealth, but it is also powerful enough to block it without you noticing. This is why the block doesn't look dramatic. It looks ordinary. It sounds like, "I'll wait a bit longer." It feels like, "Now isn't the right time." It disguises itself as patience, logic, responsibility, and that is why it works. The hand doesn't steal your money. It redirects your decisions. It controls timing, not opportunity, and timing. Gemini is everything. If you are watching this right now, understand this clearly. Not every Gemini will ever see this message. Many will scroll past. Many will feel uncomfortable and leave. But if you are still here, it means you are standing at the exact pressure point, the place where the block becomes visible for the first time. This is not random. This is recognition, and recognition is the beginning of release. You are not being punished. You are being called to notice what has been shaping your fate quietly, patiently, invisibly. Buddhist wisdom teaches that suffering does not come from lack. It comes from attachment. And the most dangerous attachments are the ones we don't know we're carrying. Gemini. The invisible hand is not outside of you. It feeds on unexamined beliefs, old survival patterns, and the fear of choosing differently. It stays powerful only while it remains unseen. The moment awareness enters, control weakens. And right now, awareness is knocking. If your chest feels tight, if something inside you feels exposed, unsettled, or strangely alert, that is not fear, that is activation. That is your intuition recognizing itself. Stay with this moment. Don't rush past it. Don't dismiss it. Let it land. Because in the next part, you will see exactly where this invisible hand comes from, why it chose you, and why you have never been able to see it until now. Gemini. If you leave before that, the hand keeps holding on. If you stay, something ancient begins to loosen. And if this message resonates, let your presence be counted like the video. Subscribe to protect your future timeline, and share this with another Gemini who feels blocked but doesn't know why. The signal has been sent. The door is opening. And what happens next depends on whether you are willing to see. Gemini, this part is where logic meets destiny, where astrology stops being abstract and starts explaining your exact experience. You are not imagining the pattern, you are not exaggerating it, and you are not alone in it. Gemini is the sign of intelligence, communication, perception, and information flow. Your mind moves fast, connects ideas instantly, and sees possibilities before others even sense them. This is your gift. But under certain cosmic conditions, that same gift becomes the entry point for something far more subtle, unconscious control. When heavy planetary forces like Pluto, Saturn, and the nodes of fate activate Gemini's energetic field, the pressure does not come as chaos. It comes as misalignment. Pluto doesn't attack your finances directly. Saturn doesn't block your opportunities openly. The nodes don't shout warnings. Instead, they work quietly, bending timing, distorting judgment, and shifting perception just enough to reroute your path without triggering alarm. That is why Gemini rarely feels unlucky in an obvious way. You feel thoughtful, cautious, analytical, reasonable, and that is exactly how the invisible hand operates. Understand this clearly: the invisible hand does not steal your money. It does not destroy opportunities after they arrive. It interferes before they are fully formed. It nudges you to speak at the wrong moment, even though the words are correct. It encourages trust in someone who sounds right, but vibrates wrong. It convinces you to wait, to gather more information, to delay one final step just long enough for momentum to fade. From the outside, it looks like normal decision-making. From the inside, it feels like intelligence at work. But astrologically, it is a redirection of energy. This is why so many Gemini share the same quiet frustration: I always understand. But one step too late. You see the truth right after the moment passes. You connect the dots once the window has closed. You replay conversations and think, if I had said that earlier, if I had trusted myself sooner, if I hadn't hesitated. That is not because you are slow. It is because the timing was manipulated at a subconscious level. Astrology shows that when Pluto presses on, Gemini's mental axis, insight comes with delay unless awareness is activated. Gemini often tells themselves, I'm just not lucky with money, or things never stick for me. But luck is not missing here. Energy is being held. In Buddhist philosophy, this would be called latent karma, not an action, but a tendency, a habitual pattern of thought that keeps recycling itself. The mind repeats what feels safe even when safety is the trap. And because Gemini lives in the realm of thought, the trap feels intelligent, justified, even wise. That is why the block lasts so long when it goes unnoticed. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Astrology reveals Gemini is more vulnerable to invisible influence than many other signs, because your power lives in the mind. When the mind is influenced, the whole life follows. Other signs are blocked through fear, emotion, or physical limitation. Gemini is blocked through ideas, through narratives, through inner conversations that sound like you. And until you realize that not every thought is truth, the invisible hand has access. If you are listening and something feels familiar, that recognition is not accidental. It means you are already stepping outside the loop. The cosmic cycle that creates this pattern does not end on its own. If it is not named, it repeats. Years pass. Opportunities echo. Faces change, but the story stays the same. Astrology shows that when Gemini fails to consciously interrupt this cycle, it can persist for a very long time disguised as personality circumstance or fate. But awareness is a turning point. The moment you see the pattern, it loses invisibility. And when it loses invisibility, it loses power. That is why you are here now. Not because you searched for this message, but because the timing aligned. This is not about blaming planets or fearing destiny. It is about understanding the mechanism so you can step out of it. And that leads to the most important question of all, the one we must face next. Why is Gemini more than other signs so easily influenced by this invisible hand? What is it about your nature, your gift, your brilliance, that makes you both powerful and vulnerable at the same time? Stay with me. The answer explains everything, and it shows you exactly how this pattern can finally be broken. Gemini. Now we step out of fear and into understanding. This is where the invisible hand loses its mystery and begins to reveal its true nature. In Buddhist wisdom, suffering does not come from destiny, punishment, or bad fortune. Suffering is born from attachment, not from what happens to you, but from what the mind clings to without realizing it is clinging at all. And this is where the truth becomes uncomfortable, because the invisible hand blocking your fortune is not an external force. It is not fate turning against you. It is unconscious attachment quietly steering your choices. The Buddha taught that attachment does not always look like desire. Sometimes it looks like caution. Sometimes it looks like responsibility. Sometimes it looks like being smart. Gemini, your attachment is subtle because it hides inside your greatest strengths. You are attached to being perceived as intelligent, to saying the right thing, to staying flexible, adaptable, liked, understood. You learned early that your mind could protect you. Your words could open doors. Your intelligence could keep you safe. And so, without noticing, you began to cling to that identity. The invisible hand feeds on this clinging. It whispers fear beneath logic. Fear of losing an opportunity. Fear of choosing wrong. Fear of disappointing others. Fear of breaking the image you have carefully built. Each fear sounds reasonable. Each hesitation feels justified. But the moment attachment enters, freedom leaves. Decisions stop flowing from alignment and start flowing from protection. And when decisions are made to protect the ego, fortune pauses. Not because it is taken away, but because it cannot land where there is no openness. This is why money does not stay. Not because you lack merit, not because you lack skill. In Buddhist language, money does not leave because of bad karma. It leaves because the mind has not released its grip. Wealth flows through openness. Attachment tightens the channel. The tighter the grip, the slower the flow. Gemini, you are not being punished. You are being mirrored. Your external reality is simply reflecting an internal holding pattern. Buddhism calls this mental karma, not karma of action, but karma of habit. The mind repeats what feels familiar, even when familiar is limiting. You hesitate in the same places. You delay in the same moments. You overthink at the same thresholds. From the outside, your life looks active. From the inside, the same cycle quietly repeats. This is the most dangerous kind of karma because it feels like personality instead of pattern. Here is the turning point. Attachment survives on reaction. The moment you react, justify, explain, defend, overthink. The hand tightens. But the moment you pause, something radical happens. The Buddha taught that liberation begins not with changing thoughts, but with seeing them without following them. Gemini. Your awakening does not require effort. It requires stillness. It requires the courage to not answer immediately, to not fix, to not explain, to not rush clarity. This is why your moment of awakening always arrives when you stop reacting, when you sit with discomfort instead of escaping into thought, when you notice the urge to delay, to soften, to please, and you do nothing. In that pause, attachment loosens. And when attachment loosens, the invisible hand loses leverage. You don't need to fight it. You don't need to cut anything forcefully. You simply stop feeding it. Try this now, even as you listen. Observe the next thought that arises. Don't correct it. Don't judge it. Don't chase it. Just notice it as energy passing through awareness. This is the practice. This is the doorway. Gemini, your power is not in thinking faster. It is in not reacting automatically. When you stop reacting, timing realigns. When timing realigns, fortune returns. This is also why wealth activation for Gemini is internal before it is external. When the mind releases its grip, opportunities no longer dissolve. Words land at the right moment. Trust aligns with intuition. Decisions feel clear without force. This is not manifestation. This is liberation. And liberation is magnetic. Wealth follows freedom the way shadow follows form. If this insight is landing deeply, let it anchor. Let your presence be known. Like the video to affirm this shift. Subscribe to protect this awakening and stay aligned with what comes next. Share this message with another Gemini who keeps blaming luck when the real answer has been waiting inside awareness. Each action you take here is not just engagement. It is a signal that you are choosing consciousness over repetition. But understand this. This teaching did not appear now by accident. There is a reason this insight is surfacing at this exact moment in your life. There is a reason ancient wisdom astrology and timing are converging around Gemini right now. Because long before this cycle began, a prophecy warned of minds that would be trapped by their own brilliance and freed only through awareness. And that prophecy speaks directly to you. But there is a specific warning and a precise message that was given for this exact phase of Gemini's journey. And once you hear it, you will never see your situation the same way again. Gemini. This is the point where coincidence ends and destiny begins. What you are hearing now is not theory, not motivation, not psychology. It is prophecy. Decades ago, Baba Vanga spoke of a group of people who would live in an age of information, whose minds would move faster than any generation before them, yet whose fortune would be quietly restrained by something they could not see. She did not describe them as weak. She did not describe them as unlucky. She described them as brilliant, and that is exactly why the block would work. She warned of minds that could calculate, predict, adapt, and speak with extraordinary speed, yet remain bound to old patterns of thinking long after those patterns had expired. Gemini. This is where her words intersect with your life. You are the archetype of intelligence in motion. You represent communication learning, language, ideas, data, signals. You are built for the information age. But Baba Vanga's warning was clear: when information multiplies faster than awareness, the mind becomes its own cage. The invisible hand she described does not appear as darkness. It appears as certainty. It appears as the belief that you understand what is happening, that you see the whole picture, that you are in control. And this is when the block becomes strongest. Gemini, the hand tightens, not when you feel lost, but when you feel confident that you've already figured it out. That is the paradox she warned about. Intelligence without renewal becomes limitation. Knowledge without release becomes a chain. Gemini rules information, but information is not wisdom. In the modern world, you are surrounded by data, opinions, advice, strategies, systems. You consume, analyze, cross-check, compare. You tell yourself you're being smart, careful, strategic. But the prophecy speaks of a moment when the mind becomes overloaded, when too much thinking delays action, and too much analysis weakens intuition. That is when fortune stalls. Not because opportunity disappears, but because clarity is postponed. Baba Vanga spoke of an unseen restraint that would affect those who rely on thought more than presence. She said their wealth would hover close, almost reachable, yet never fully settle. Gemini, that hovering is familiar to you. Money that touches your life but doesn't stay. Breakthroughs that feel imminent but dissolve. Success that seems promised but remains delayed. The prophecy did not say this would be permanent. It said it would persist until the moment of recognition. Here is the most important part. She said fortune would return instantly once the correct invisible bond was severed. Not gradually, not slowly, instantly. But the bond was not a person, not a relationship, not an external enemy. It was a belief that once served you but no longer does. A belief about control, about timing, about needing to understand everything before moving, about waiting until certainty arrives. Gemini certainty is the trap. The invisible hand works best when you believe you are the one holding the strings. When you believe your thinking is protecting you. When you trust logic over intuition every time. Baba Vanga warned that the most intelligent minds would struggle not because they lacked foresight, but because they clung to outdated ways of seeing. And that is why the cut she described was not violent. It was subtle. A release, not a rejection. A letting go, not a confrontation. She also emphasized timing. She said there would be narrow windows when awareness would pierce the fog, when those affected would encounter a message that felt uncomfortably precise. A message they didn't search for, but recognized immediately. Gemini. If you are watching this now, this is that window. The cycle is open. The signal has reached you. And cycles like this do not remain open indefinitely. This is why urgency matters, not panic. Urgency. Because if you scroll past this awareness, the invisible hand does not punish you. It simply continues doing what it has always done. Delaying, redirecting, softening your edge, keeping fortune just out of reach. Ignorance is not punished. It is repeated. And repetition is how years disappear. But when recognition happens, the cycle weakens. The moment you see that the block is not bad luck, not other people, not circumstances, but an internal allegiance to an old belief, everything changes. You don't have to destroy your intelligence. You don't have to stop thinking. You simply stop letting thought lead when intuition is already present. Gemini. This prophecy is not meant to scare you. It is meant to wake you, to remind you that brilliance must evolve, or it becomes a prison. To show you that wealth is not withheld, it is waiting for alignment. And alignment does not come from knowing more. It comes from releasing what no longer serves. If this message feels specific, if it feels personal, If it feels like it found you instead of the other way around, acknowledge it. Like this video to anchor this moment. Subscribe to stay aligned with the unfolding cycle. Share this with another Gemini who keeps searching externally for what must be released internally. Each action is not just engagement. It is a declaration that you are ready to move differently, because now comes the only question that matters. Baba Vanga warned of the block. Buddhism explained its nature. Astrology revealed its timing. But knowledge alone does not cut the cord. Action does. And in the next part, you will be shown exactly how to sever the invisible bond lock, a new timeline, and allow fortune to finally land. So stay with me, Gemini, because seeing the hand was the first awakening. Cutting it is where destiny changes. Gemini, if you are still here, this is the moment everything converges. This is not the end of the video. It is the point of decision. It means you have already seen the invisible hand. You may not have named it before, but you felt it. The hesitation that kept repeating. The pause that always came at the wrong second. The sense that something was quietly guiding you away from what you wanted most. Awareness has already begun, and awareness changes timelines. Now, do not rush. This part is not about understanding more. It is about choosing differently. Gently close your eyes for a moment. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. Hold it just long enough to feel your chest expand. Then exhale fully, letting the breath fall out of you. As you breathe, allow one image to rise: the decision you have avoided the longest, the call you didn't make, the step you delayed, the truth you softened. Don't analyze it. Don't explain it. Just let it be present. Gemini, that hesitation was never weakness. It was protection that outlived its purpose, and protection that stays too long becomes a cage. This is where the cut happens. Not through force, not through rebellion, through release. Say this silently or out loud with intention, not volume. I choose freedom over control. Feel the difference in your body when you say it. Control tightens. Freedom opens. Wealth follows openness. This is not symbolism. It is alignment. The invisible hand does not dissolve because you fight it. It dissolves because you stop feeding it. And right now, with this awareness, you are no longer feeding the pattern. You are interrupting it. This is how timelines shift, not with dramatic events, but with quiet, conscious decisions that reroute energy. Gemini, your mind is powerful. When it stops gripping, it becomes magnetic. Now anchor this choice, not for me, for you, for your future self, for the version of you that no longer wants to repeat this cycle. Go to the comments and write this exact phrase: I cut the invisible hand. Don't change the words. Don't overthink it. Each comment is not just engagement. It is a signal, a declaration, a marker in time that says, this is where the loop ended. Energy follows attention. Timelines follow intention. And yes, algorithms follow interaction. Everything aligns when action is taken. If this message resonated, share it. Not because it is dramatic, but because there is another Gemini out there who keeps blaming luck timing, or people without realizing what is actually holding them back. When you share, you are not just spreading a video. You are disrupting a pattern for someone else. And disruption creates movement. Movement creates flow. Flow creates fortune. Subscribe to this channel, Gemini, not as a habit, but as a commitment. This is not random content. This is a sequence. A series of warnings, activations, and alignments designed for your sign your mind, your timing. Staying connected keeps you aware. Awareness is protection. Awareness is leverage. Understand this clearly before the video ends. Doors do not close loudly. They do not announce themselves. They do not beg you to walk through. They simply stop appearing. The greatest losses happen quietly disguised as delays and distractions. But the greatest shifts happen the same way, quietly, internally, decisively. This moment matters more than it looks like it does. Gemini, your fortune was never taken from you. It was never stolen. It was never denied. It has been waiting for the moment you loosen your grip and allow it to land. Wealth is not attracted to control. It is attracted to clarity, to courage, to movement. And you are standing at that threshold right now. Stay present. Lock this moment in, like the video, to seal the shift. Comment to mark the cut. Share to amplify the signal. Subscribe to stay aligned with what comes next. Because from this point forward, the invisible hand no longer leads. You do. And when you finally let go, fortune doesn't chase you. It arrives.